Tonight's meeting, Planning Commission, Emmitsburg, is now called to order. Thank everybody for being here this evening. And let's begin with standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let the record show that we have all members of the Planning Commission in attendance tonight. And for the third item on our agenda, the opening statement, I'd like to say a few words to the members of the Planning Commission regarding, let's call it, independence. I was recently reminded that in the processes that have established in our codes and ordinances, that it makes it clear that within the whole organization, the town of Emmitsburg, different bodies have different functions. Various ones have exactly some things that must be done, and in many cases these things need to be done, perhaps let's call it independent decisions to be made. We as a commission, we have our role, we have decisions to be made, and the mayor, the town elected officials, they certainly have their role to play as well. And what I'm going to say, really, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm bad-mouthing our elected officials, but I was reminded that perhaps this is a good time to recall exactly what it means for us to make independent decisions. And so we need to think about and recall that when we are making decisions as the Planning Commission, that we need to be aware of and be cautious about the input that we receive from the elected officials of this town. Certainly all the elected officials, the mayor, all the commissioners, Glenn, everyone involved there, they certainly do a fantastic job. They have a tremendous role to play. They do their jobs quite well. And we have ours too. So let's keep in mind about when it's appropriate and when it's not for members of our commission to be taking input from members of the Board of Commissioners or the mayor. Be mindful that, of course, Glenn, being the commissioner liaison, he is here. He is authorized and appointed to do so. He certainly does and participate in our discussions. He provides input, and he certainly has voting powers. Another instance where it's certainly very appropriate for us to receive input from elected officials would be here in our called meetings, that when we ask for public comment, a commissioner certainly may be present and they may provide testimony, provided it's made perfectly clear that they are here to represent themselves and are not here to represent the commission or any other capacity as an elected official. But the area that we got to be careful about is when we may be engaged in conversations with any of the elected officials that are beyond this meeting and outside this room. Such conversations certainly are permitted. Nothing says you can't, but please be careful. And it's recommended that those conversations that we may have, that they do not include any discussions about a project that we may be reviewing here on the commission or something that's due to come up. Such conversations could easily become misinterpreted, or certainly could be have the appearance of some decisions being made that are outside the authorized and official procedures that the town has set up for us. So just keep this all in mind as we certainly move forward here in our commission, as we certainly go through our processes, and that we make our efforts to make sound and independent decisions on behalf of the citizens of this fine town of Emmitsburg. So that's briefly what I wanted to say. Okay, next item. Item 4, the disposition of the minutes from our last meeting, which happened way back on the 28th of January. Does everybody have a copy of those minutes? Has everybody had an opportunity to look those over? And if so, are there any items that need to be changed, added, subtracted, whatever? Any such things? Hearing none, will somebody make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion we approve the January 28th minutes of the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. On the agenda, we have no old business to be presented tonight. On to item 6, new business. We got 2 items identified regarding a conditional approval of the Rudder Store 84. We have 2 items, the Forest Conservation Plan and the site plan. Zach, do you want to take these separately or together?
Separately, please.
Separately, okay.
Keith?
Yes.
Sorry, just one thing I want to add. Myself and, this actually falls under old business real quick, sorry. Myself and Mark Long attended a class about 2 months ago at Hagerstown on planning and zoning. And one of the things that came out was they said, this was sort of a, across the state level, they've recommended that the commissioner who's elected, who serves as a liaison, should basically reserve his vote, or in my case, my vote, for the board that I'm actually elected, represented by the town, and that I should only be using my vote here to break a tie. For the most part, if I use my vote here, I shouldn't use it basically on the board, because they found that to be sort of like double dipping, I guess. So there seemed to be a, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be acceptance across the board from all the state officials that, as the elected officials, I should be just essentially representative here to listen and bring the information back to the board, but I really shouldn't vote on this board. I should always say my vote for the actual commission vote. So I just wanted to say that up front. So if you see me abstain from any vote tonight, it seemed like this seemed to be the sort of consensus among state officials.
That was the consensus, but I mean, we would probably have to change our ordinance here, I mean, to reflect that practice.
But they just said if you vote one place, you shouldn't vote again.
That's the idea.
You shouldn't vote twice, because that could cause some issues. So I just want to make sure I say that at the beginning here. So.
Okay. And it's my understanding, Mark and I agree. You know, when you look at our ordinance, it clearly says that the liaison has full voting power.
Mm-hmm.
And until that gets changed, and it might, but that's another issue that could come up at another time.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is right now, you certainly do have the voting power, and it will be at your decision how you want to handle your voting power at these meetings.
Okay, I just want to make sure I bring it up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do these 2 items regarding the Rudder Store separately. So, Zach, would you like to present this particular item for us?
Sure. I'll start out with a summary. With much excitement, I think a lot of the town residents have been waiting, and they've been hearing rumors, and now you're finally here, and I think everybody is extremely excited. So the applicant is M&G Realty, Inc. and owner is SPT Land LLC, Mr. Steve Trout, who has greatly invested in the town throughout the years, and we really appreciate your investment through town. You're doing an excellent job, and we really appreciate that you're here. The plan name is the Rudders Store number 84. The type of plans that you'll be reviewing tonight, like Mr. Chairman said, are the forest conservation and the site plans. The property address is the southeastern quadrant of the intersection of US 15 and Maryland 140. The zoning district is the general commercial B2. The proposed project consists of creating an 8,380 square foot Rudders convenience store. The proposed facility will include 7 gasoline fuel islands and 5 diesel fuel bays, along with a truck scale, 28 short-term tractor-trailer parking spaces, and 59 passenger vehicle parking spaces. Full build-out of the Rudders is expected by 2021. The proposed use of the subject property is consistent with the town of Emmitsburg zoning ordinance, and it is also consistent with the comprehensive plan for that side of US 15. I would also like to note that the access for this property is proposed to be a shared use entrance with the proposed Maryland State Highway Administration Park and Ride facility, which is expected to be built on the adjacent property to the east of the Rudders. However, we are not sure yet of when they will be proposing that to the board for review. The mayor has been working on developing these lots since the 1980s and 1990s. So again, we're extremely excited that there's interest, and we greatly welcome Rudders to our great community. I would also like to say that Rudders has been extremely accommodating with the mayor's and town staff's requests, going above and beyond what the code reads and accommodating any of our requests that we have. Alrighty, so first, Rudders submitted a sketch plan to staff. This is a staff-only review plan. That was in February of 2019. We reviewed that, worked with Rudders, worked out the fine details, and we're bringing you a much cleaner plan, we believe. The Planning Commission meeting tonight, it will be the site and conservation plans, and then maybe in July or later or earlier, we'll be seeing the improvement plans. Possibly. We'll see. The town planning and zoning department, public works department, sewer and water department, the town forester, who is Victor Fabrizki from Penn Forestry, and our temporary town engineer, Aero Consulting, and the State Highway Administration have all reviewed these plans. The Fox and Associates, Mr. Cece is our town engineer. However, there's a conflict of interest since he is representing Rudders in this situation, so that's why we did hire out Aero Consulting. Let's see. So we'll get right into it. So the Forest Conservation Plan, Joe, would you like to make a presentation on that? Or be available for any questions the board may have? Sure. So the Forest Conservation Plan has been reviewed by our forester. Like I said, it is consistent with, complies with the requirements of the Emmitsburg Forest Resources Ordinance and in the State of Maryland Forest Conservation Act. Staff has been in contact with Rudders and Mr. Cece, and we do have 2 conditions, and I think they're reasonable conditions. Instead of purchasing forest buffering credits through Frederick County, staff has requested that they pay our fee in lieu of, which is 30 cents per square foot. So, and they were receptive of doing that, and that would help the town with future projects, we could say. And the code requires that they provide financial security in the amount estimated cost plus administration inspection cost of 20%. So other than that, the plan was very clean, and staff recommends conditionally approving it on these 2 conditions. If denied, please state so for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Are there any questions or comments from members of the commission? Yes, Glenn.
I just wonder, could you come up and just kind of explain the basic background to the plan itself? I mean, I have it in black and white, but like just kind of describe what you're doing here. That's all.
Yeah, I'm Joe Cece with Fox and Associates. The plan, we are planting The majority of the forest that we need is being planted in the floodplain
Okay.
on the property, and that is the floodplain is a high priority planting area for the state, and your code goes along with that. So that's what we're doing. We have a small amount, 0.66 acres, that we didn't have room in the floodplain to plant, so that's when we looked at banking credits, and then Zach, said to do the fee in lieu for the town. So that's how we got to where we are.
Okay. And the type of trees you're planting, just out of curiosity,
They will be,
like sycamore? Or something?
yeah, I don't have it right in front of me,
Okay.
but they'll be, I think they're mostly like, there's not evergreens, they're
Okay.
hardwoods.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the questions I really had about it. So thanks.
And Rudders was willing to give us a 35-foot conservation easement along the stream bank, so this could be a possible location of stream bank restoration in the future. So we're trying to plan for the future because these are projects that we're going to have to do at some point.
Yeah.
So they were nice enough to give us that. They only had to give us 20 feet per code. So
Okay. That's pretty much me. Thanks, Keith.
Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Yes, Mark?
Just a point of information for Zach. What does the town do with the Forest Conservation Fund? Just for my own
So this
information.
is actually a pretty new fund. We never had somebody donate to this. I'm not sure if the previous town planner wasn't aware of it, but the money we can be used for tree plantings, afforestation, and so basically we have a stormwater program. We can use that money to plant trees in floodplains and get credit towards that, or we can just plant trees in our parks, or basically building up the tree population in town. So that's something we're really excited to have and be able to use.
Good. Thank you.
Other questions from anyone on the board? Okay, as you can see, we've been given three options here to consider. One would be a motion to approve as submitted. You got an opportunity to move that we give a conditional approval using those two conditions that the town has recommended, or you can make a motion that we deny, and if you do that, please state what your reasons would be. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to conditionally approve the Rudders Store number 84 Forest Conservation Plan with the following conditions. Do I need to read those?
You don't have
No.
to.
You're going to be verbatim.
I'll have
there.
them in the minutes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Motion has been made to conditionally approve with the two conditions identified in the letter that we have. Is there a second?
A second.
It has been seconded. Are there further comments or questions from the commission?
I'm sorry, who's second? Who was the second?
Mr. Davis.
Any other comments, discussion before we vote? Motion has been made to conditionally approve. This is for the Forest Conservation Plan only. Keep that in mind. And the motion indicates to have a conditional approval on the two items indicated in the letter that we have. That motion has been made. It has been seconded. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
I'm just going to abstain, Keith, for the record.
Okay, we got 4 votes.
That way I can bring the recommendation to the
and
board and
one
vote at the board
abstention.
level.
All right, 1 abstention.
Okay.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you. And the motion carries. Okay, thank you, and that takes care of the Forest Conservation Plan. Moving on to the site plan. Zach?
Yes. So first we'll talk about the traffic impact analysis. Since this is located on Maryland 140, they are required to submit this to the Maryland Department of Transportation for review. Rudders had hired the traffic group, which is a very reputable company, and I did put it on your packets, the Maryland, their comments. They're very, very minor in nature. Has there been an update since we received this back in March?
There hasn't. I know Joe has been working with them. There was Tim Bieber with Rudders.
Traffic engineer Joe Collegero has been working with SHA on this store as well as several others. One of the things that we're going through is the traffic that is projected from the ITE manual is far in excess of what we see at our stores. One of the things that Joe has been working with them is we've done some trip generation studies at our own stores, and he has gotten that approved through Frederick County and SHA. And what he's going to do is he's going to implement that into this as he submits responses to their comments.
Thank you very much. And staff, we agree with that. The state has full control over this, so we're basically just providing input as needed. But staff is supportive of their recommendations. So you did see that we submitted it to Aero. They did have a bunch of comments. However, most of these comments are geared more towards the improvement plans. However, we still added it to this plan just so Joe's aware of, what we will be looking for in the improvement plan section. Staff did have some comments regarding sidewalks, permanent iron markers, just very, very minor things. And I don't believe Rudders has any issues with any of our comments. Am I correct?
That's correct. The one thing I would maybe ask for consideration is we don't really know exactly what SHA's plans are for the park and ride. Perhaps some of that sidewalk could be deferred till that gets defined. We'd hate to put something down that ultimately would have to be either removed or adjusted when SHA does finally come through with their plans.
And staff is we are okay with that as long as they put a note on the plans, basically stating that the deferral can be brought forth by the mayor at any time. So if the mayor, next year wanted to get sidewalks put there, that we could do that. So as long as Rudders is okay with that, we're okay with that also. Because it doesn't make sense to put all the sidewalks out there yet when development isn't fully, developed out there. And we believe that the Rudders is going to really be a springboard for other development in the area. So it could be sooner, it could be later. So we are in agreement with that. Other than that, it's just very, very minor details. The administrative, that's all things that basically you have to get financial security from Frederick County. They have to approve it. Different permits, infrastructure, zoning, sign, grease traps, soil and erosion, sediment control plans, which they will be getting through Frederick County. Stormwater management facilities plan, which again is through Frederick County. Just basically administrative items, just to remind them that that's things that need to be completed for the improvement plans. So staff recommends conditionally approving it with the 17 conditions.
Okay. Questions or comments?
And sorry, Glenn. Would you like me, Mr. Chairman, to put pictures of the proposed rudders on the screen?
Sure.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
May take a couple minutes here to warm up, but Mr. Bieber has provided pictures of the rudders that was just built in Walkersville, Maryland.
Yeah,
And
I saw it the other day, actually.
I heard a couple of you been there and checked it out. But just for the public, we'll show them what is being proposed.
Biglersville.
Business there, or did you?
I just drove past. I didn't even go inside, to be honest with you. I kind of went, oh.
I did.
that's-
Well, I
A
appreciate
bottle of water and a candy
Sorry.
bar. I can't,
I was actually on a field trip with a school bus, so sorry.
Oh.
I went, oh, that's where it is.
I was up the one in Biglersville. I
Yes.
got up there the other day just to check it out. It's a nice facility. Okay, we've got some. Would you like
Mr. Bieber, would you like to
I-
explain as
Yeah.
I flip through? I know it's pretty explanatory, but
So what we have here is our high-speed diesel. Certainly what we have come to the conclusion of is that offering high-speed diesel and allowing, full circulation is a big benefit to us as well as
Can you use the mic?
Providing high-speed diesel and the ability to circulate throughout a site that is not severely constricted has been a big advantage to us as well as the the trucking community.
Well, if it worked, 1 second.
And diesel pumps like this are directional in that on a normal gas pump, which we'll see, you can go in either direction. In the diesel pumps, it is one direction. This is conventional fuel canopy and pumps. We offer a blend of fuels. They are somewhat site-specific. Our fuel department evaluates what the anticipated need would be. One of the big things that we've been doing more often than not of late is non-ethanol fuels. Our dumpster enclosure.
Go ahead, Amy.
And this is just the, essentially we have two fronts to our building, vestibules on both fronts.
Go ahead, Amy.
Circulation around the building.
Should be one more, I think. There you go.
And there will be another front. And in this case, this is the face of the building in Walkersville that faces Woodsboro Pike.
Now, is the size of this one the same as what you're proposing for here in Emmitsburg?
I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it's very similar. You know, the stores have certainly grown over time. Convenience stores are really, you're combining a couple uses. Typically, you know your old conventional where you're prepackaged items. But we operate, and I believe many of our competitors as well, essentially operate a full-service restaurant inside a convenience store. So our buildings have grown over the years. This is not our largest store. Typically now our largest store is about 10,200 square foot. So this is about 80% of our largest store.
Yeah, like I say, I was up at the one in Biglersville a few days ago, and it appears to be quite bigger than this one or the one for...
Is that right off 15?
You're right, yes.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
I call that our Heidlersburg store. That's a 10-2 store.
Yeah.
That also has significant number of both diesel fueling positions and regular positions than we're going to offer here. Certainly, there's things in Pennsylvania where beer sales are allowed, and that has an influence on the store size.
Okay. All right.
Hey, sir, I had a couple questions.
Sure.
I was wondering, the canopy for the gas pumps.
Amy, can you go back to that?
Is there any sort of, is that sort of like the frozen design, or is there any sort of options that the town has as far as that's concerned?
For us, that is our conventional,
Okay.
and it's somewhat part of our branding, so
Okay.
that you
The reason I
recognize
asked, I don't know if you can come up here and take a look at this. This is a book, Ed McMahon, the developer. He has some different patterns. I just wonder if it was like, that was sort of the frozen design, or if there's any options.
It for the most part, it is a frozen design.
Okay.
One of the things I see Sheets is on there
Yeah,
as well. One of the things that we do is our canopy is internally backlit, and that somewhat has an influence on the shape that we've come to.
Okay. And I tried to get here earlier to actually get Zach to put these up there, but I got here a little late. Sorry, but I took some photographs of one of your competitors. Sorry, and I was wondering if I can bring this up real quick for you, take a look at. Sorry. All right, there we go. I'll hand this off to you. Just wondering if there's any options. If you could swipe left, if there's any possibility to add any of those kind of amenities, like tables, stonework. Just thinking out loud. That's all.
We're always considering things. We try and standardize as much as possible.
Okay.
Just from the standpoint of
I know it's cost. I know it's about cost.
maintenance.
I can certainly take it back to my leadership team.
Okay. It was just things I was thinking about. I kind of, when I started coming to this meeting, I started thinking, like, started driving around, going to different gas stations, to be honest with you. And I was like, tables to sit outside, possibly on good night, nights, and stonework possibly, and just different things. If anyone else on the board wants to take a look at these, just hand them down. I just sort of did a compare and contrast, I guess. That's one. And again, these are just cosmetics. I have nothing against your company or anything against design. I was just wondering if we had any sort of feedback at all to try to, I don't know, just
We're always evaluating things. I know one of the things that we're going through an exercise right now is, for instance, that perimeter around our store. Haven't come to any consensus from leadership, but we're looking at stamped concrete, other options.
And I get it. It's only about cost, and I'm not trying to do your business or anything like that. But it's just things I saw like, oh, that's pretty nice. You can sit outside and eat your hot dog or whatever, before you get back in your car type thing. What happens to stay inside during a nice summer night or something like that? And I just wondered if those options were even possible. So
I can certainly explore the outdoor seating with the team. We have done that in locations. Yes.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate your time. With that. Thanks, Keith. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. Other questions? Yes.
Just a comment and a question. First of all, I travel a lot in my business, and I have visited many Rudders throughout the years, and they always seem like fine facilities. I've bought gas there, I've bought food there, and I think you do a good job with them overall. So I'm pleased to see that one is coming to Emmitsburg. Secondly, and this is beyond the scope of the site plan, I'm just wondering if Rudders is exploring at all the idea of having electric charging stations at any of your facilities.
We certainly have, and in the past we actually had 2 locations with charging stations. Where we ran into trouble there is they're not necessarily independent charging stations. You have to basically, the way we operated with, we were basically leasing space to the charging company that we had to. That company went bankrupt, and they're not in service anymore. For us, I think it's a matter of can you make a business case for it? Currently, we can't. However, I think that's something that's always going to be evaluated. When there's a need, as a business, you have a responsibility to, or there is an incentive to try and capture that business. I know that was one of the things early on that Zach had brought up. I did some investigation on it. For us to put in high-speed chargers, it would have been a $250,000 investment with basically no promise of return.
Right.
I think if I
Coming.
right,
They will
if
come.
I came here 10 years from now, my guess is our job is to be convenient to the customer, and if there is a base of need out there, we're going to want to fill it. So I think the time is coming for that. It's just not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
You have anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Frank, you got any
No, I'm
questions?
good, thanks.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Again, all my things were just cosmetic. I mean, that's all it was. So,
Okay. All right. I got a question for you. And we understand that this park and ride would be next door. I'm trying to understand the importance of that facility with the success of Rudders. I mean, do you need this park and ride to be built simultaneously with Rudders in order for this project to fly, or can the park and ride just never happen and you're satisfied?
We would move forward whether there was a park and ride there or not. What complicates things for us is, and it complicates things for the park and ride as well, they have to go through our property to get to their park and ride. And then we have to go through their property to get to our store. So that is a complication that we'll work through with SHA. So I've been following the park and ride now probably going on 9 months to see where things are. My guess is what SHA is waiting for is us to build whatever we need to build so that it will lessen the impact that they have to build. That's just my personal opinion. Every time I call, what I get is we're still evaluating the purpose and need of the park and ride. I don't know how long it takes to do a purpose and need, but I'm guessing they're probably waiting for us to get through this, and then they'll move forward. That's just my guess.
Okay. Another question. Can you explain why you need to have two separate entrance drives to Rudders?
Well, I think and I don't know if we can put that back up.
It overheated. I have to give it a couple minutes.
So, actually, I believe what you're gonna see two access points coming off of 140. I think what one of those does is the right in allows cars to come in and get to the store without intermixing with truck traffic. So anything that we can do to separate traffic, we always try and do that. So that's why you see two entrance points off of 140.
So that I would call like the first entrance into Rudders as you go east. That's going to be for cars only.
That's for cars.
That will be clearly
I think the geometry
set up that no truck's going to go in there.
Right, and I will say that that's still yet to be finalized with SHA. We have to get an access permit for that. So when we get through the site plan process, we'll be going into the infrastructure and access permit plans.
Okay.
And it's also for a safety aspect. If one of the entrances ever gets an accident or something.
Yeah, I just didn't know if, always thinking that simpler is better, that if there could have just been one two-way entrance into this facility, would that have been better than essentially you got two rather than one?
Yeah, a right-hand movement into a site is always our preference.
Yeah.
And like I said, what this allows it to do is segregate traffic as much as possible. However, everybody will be coming out the further entrance away from town.
And then, thinking about in the other direction, westbound, you got a left turn lane or left turn into your two-way entrance. You're going to have another left turn to come into the cars only. And then a few feet on down from that is going to be the left turn into the route on 15. So you got three left turns happening very close together there. Is that really going to be okay? Without a left turn lane? Good. I looked for a left turn lane and I didn't see one.
Is this the picture you're looking for? I do not have that up. No.
Yeah. Yeah, we got lots of.
So this is inbound only,
Yeah.
and here would be rights
Yeah.
or lefts.
Yeah. But see, my concern a little bit is we got it coming from this direction, westbound. You're going to have an opportunity for cars or whatever to make a left turn into there, or they could make a left turn into there.
They can't make a left in here.
Really?
I believe that's right turn only.
Oh, so you cannot make a left turn there. Okay, I didn't catch that. Okay, because I was thinking that got an awful lot of left turns here close together. Oh, all right. Okay, so that's only going to be right turn only for cars.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's kind of positioned such that what we're trying to do is bring the trucks in
Yeah.
in this direction.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, take your time.
It's one
Okay.
one directional.
Yeah.
They would loop back around.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's going to be almost like all the convenience stores up on in Wayne Heights, where you have the I don't want to say the bad word, the sheet store and I guess it's the Exxon, but all those, there's only one
Yes.
road you can go in to the left.
And they meet, they
That's-
over
it's-
meet it.
Be laid out the same way as that.
Okay, that helps a lot, thanks.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I'll make sure you get to speak before. Yep.
Are there other questions?
Just the one thing about the park and ride, it's really something that we should push the state for, because we are going to have a problem with parking with the Silo Hill development,
You're right.
because all that daytime parking out there, there's, 50 cars that park out there during the day, and if that gets developed,
They're going to have
you're
to
going to have
cease.
more traffic, and then you're going to have a fire access problem, and so that's something we should really push the state to get moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. We agree 100%.
Okay, any other comments or questions at this point? All right. Again, we've got some options.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
There is a comment from the public. If I know it's kind of out of sequence, but I think she wanted to speak before the vote, if that's acceptable.
This would be the fine time to do that. Yes, it would. And if you would please identify your name and address for us, please.
Hi, I'm Ashley Reed. I live at 16 First Avenue in Emmett Gardens. So a couple of the questions that I had, because I hadn't seen the site plan before I came today, was how they were accessing. Before I get there, I also want to say I don't think SHA has it in their budget or any plans of developing that park and ride right now. I work in development review, so I talk with the SHA people, and I don't think that that's in their game plan. Not that it wouldn't be in the future, but right now I don't think it is. So to say one way or the other, I wouldn't count on it. So for me as a resident, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Also, I have a concern about the number of parking spaces. For tractor trailers to access that, to get back on southbound, they have to come right past Emmett Gardens, of course, to get back on 15. And even when they're coming to get there, they'd have to come, when they're coming from Pennsylvania, past our neighborhood. A lot of times tractor trailers come through our neighborhood even still because they don't know, I guess, to make that right. So I was wondering if there was anything that could be done, maybe a sign put up to alert trucks not to continue to go straight into the development. And also if 28 tractor trailer spaces was really necessary. So I guess what I want to know is what is the parking standard in Emmitsburg compared to what they have?
Okay, sure, absolutely. That's a good question. Thank you. So in our parking section, which is 173640 D2, just for those following at home, basically it states minimum parking is 1 per 250 square feet. So that equals 34 spaces for just the cars. They are providing 57. However, the board may grant additional parking spaces as necessary. So they are asking that you approve tonight 57. For the tractor trailer parking, we do not have any standards whatsoever. So that's at the board's discretion. And I'm sure there's a reason why you chose 28 and the reason why you chose 57.
Certainly. I would like to say that I think we have more truck parking space than needed. However, empirical evidence says no. And I think what's driving that more than anything is the mandated stops of time off the road. And I think what you'll find, and what I have found in a number of our locations, is you will go there and for 18 hours of the day, you'll see 10 or 20% of those truck parking spaces being used. And at other times, generally starting around twilight, you'll see much more. We recently built a store on Route 322, just north of Harrisburg, and we kind of had a debate in the office because we're like, I think we have 50 or 60 parking spaces there,
And every time I'd go by, there'd be no trucks there. I'm thinking, why do we have so many truck spaces? And we kept getting from the store is we don't have enough spaces. So it's functional by the need for truckers to get off of the road. And what we found, and I don't know if you have that problem down here, is when they hit the end of their time allocation, it doesn't matter whether they find a place that can handle them or not, that's where they park. So we provide it because there's a need for it.
Yeah, they just, park on the side of the road.
Yes.
We don't know that. So there's my questions. I guess the biggest thing is maybe we could put a sign that says no trucks coming into the neighborhood, but I welcome Rudders. I think it's good for economic development. It's good for the town. It's good to give some competition. So thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you.
Does anybody know how often or what the percentage of a truck going, be southbound, in this case, that would get off the highway and have to make the turn to get over to the northbound, or are you going to be looking at mostly northbound traffic?
And I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I'd have to look, and actually I may be able to reach out to Joe Collegero. And I don't know that he's going to be able to pull that. I mean, I think what he'll have is, all right, this is how much truck traffic there is southbound. Right. This is how much there is northbound. And I don't know. I think about that. I think there's going to be. This is just me thinking. So I think what makes Emmitsburg a very attractive location for us is gas prices and diesel prices are cheaper in Maryland. So, do I think that people are going to be going northbound and taking that opportunity? I do. Now, I would think that, yes, we're going to have some coming southbound thinking, hey, let's get through Pennsylvania. We can hit our first stop, but I don't know, and we don't have a market study that gives us that kind of information.
Right, because that would take care of one of your concerns. It would be that southbound traffic coming in and coming through Emmett Gardens and making that circle and then having to do the same to get back out.
They just stop in front of the house because they don't know if they can get out or not.
Right, yeah. So I know myself, if I'm coming home, if I just came home from the beach and my wife wanted to stop, and I said, we're stopping whatever's on this side of the road. We're not crossing over. And so as driving a truck, I know I wouldn't go across it. But that's
But if
just.
they could park there instead of parking along the road up at Mountaindale, maybe they would.
Mr. Chair. I just had a question for Zach, if I could.
Yes, Glenn?
Have you received any feedback from the residents on the east side of 15, like along Track Road or the farms and things?
We have heard nothing. Nothing.
And this has been pretty well advertised both in the paper and our website and everything else.
Facebook, Channel 99. I think there's a lot of people in town been talking about it for the past probably 4 or 5 months, and we haven't heard anything.
Okay. Anything from Fox Associates? You ever heard anything from anybody? Okay, I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a pretty significant change to the east side of 15. So
absolutely, just for in those houses. There's houses over there, a couple.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, just kind of checking. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? We have before us, again, some options. We can, one option to make a motion to approve as submitted. An option to approve with the condition of the long list of items that we were given to us from Zach on the site plan. There's 16, 17 items listed here. We have the option of that, plus if we think there ought to be other conditions. And then, of course, the last would be a outright motion to deny with reasons for that.
Another question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just want to confirm this. I presume this is true that the folks from Rudders have seen all the 17 conditions that we're about to vote on?
I'm Rutter's representative, and yes, I have seen them.
And they're okay? You're okay with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone feel that,
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the Rudder Store number 84 site plan with the following 17 conditions as outlined in our paperwork.
okay, motion has been made to approve with the 17 conditions listed. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It has been seconded.
Yeah, I like it.
Further discussion, comments, or questions on that motion? I would like to ask a question regarding those 17 conditions. Zach, do you feel that those 17 pretty well cover what's would need to be taken care of? I was just wondering, and the reason I'm asking that is I can see that a number of those conditions are coming from the engineer's list of comments.
That's correct.
Would there have been anything from the traffic study that might need to be in here, or are we just to assume that whatever it says in this traffic report, that those will be, that in itself would be a condition of approval for that?
I think it'd be appropriate to state that pending approval also of State Highway Administration, if you feel more comfortable that way. But they won't approve the plan, they won't get occupancy permit without their approval and without their
Oh,
satisfaction.
so that would be like a separate approval
That's
process
a totally
right there.
separate approval process,
No
correct?
matter what we do, that you're going to, that'll have to be done. That they're going to have to get
that
this
correct?
revised study.
Oh, it'd be up to us. Okay. So yeah, you may want to just make a condition, condition number 18, that
Okay.
states, final approval from State Highway Administration.
Okay, so approval, or condition number 18, condition that the owner receives approval from the State Highway Administration.
That's satisfactory to town staff.
That would be satisfactory to town staff, yeah. That would be condition number 18. Okay.
So are you making an amendment to my motion?
Well, that's correct. Well, I need to make that, I need to make an emotion on that then. Okay, you're right. I make a motion.
Accept your amendment.
I made a motion to amend the motion.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I'm making a motion to amend it by adding condition number 18. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. Okay, now, referring only to the amendment now. Any discussion about the proposed motion to add condition number 18? Any questions or comments? Okay, to vote. All those in favor of the amendment to add condition number 18, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries unanimously. Yeah, I think we still have an
Yeah,
abstention.
abstention. Yeah. Understood. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, now we have 18 amendments. Excuse me, 18 conditions.
Correct.
Right.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the motion to approve with these 18 conditions? Anything else? Okay. Then all those in favor of the motion to approve this site plan with the conditions stated, the 18 conditions stated, and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. No, not unanimous. because
One
it's still
abstention
got
again.
One abstention. So
Yeah, so I can reserve my vote for the board.
4 yes, 1 abstention, the motion carries. All right, and we got it. So, both of these items have been conditionally approved, and as you say, Jack, we will be looking at this project again
Correct.
in a month or so for
Whenever Joe can,
Probably a couple months at least.
couple months.
okay, for the what do you call that?
Improvement plan.
Improvement plan. Okay, and that'll be everything. more or
That would
less.
be the whole kit and caboodle.
Whole kit and caboodle. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay. Do we have any public comments on any other subjects that has not been brought up tonight that wishes to speak? Seeing none? Okay.
I just have one thing for Zach.
Yeah.
Zach, including this plan tonight that we just approved, is there any way possible that as we get closer to the final stuff, that the fire department can get copies of this so they can take a look at it?
Yeah.
I talked to the fire chief today, and with that tractor trailer parking, it brings a new set of challenges for us, but nothing we can't handle, and it's not a showstopper at all. We just want to be prepared for whatever might happen there.
Oh, we would
And-
love the fire department to take
and with
advantage
the,
of improving
the-
all new plans.
Yeah, with the placement of the fire hydrant, we don't want it, downgrade where the runoff's going to run into us or something like that. But we would like to be able to take a look at things like that, and we could save the town and the developers some money if.
That's actually an excellent idea. I would love to present any kind of plans to the fire department for review, any future development plans, if you're willing to.
Yeah, the fire chief is more than willing to.
Absolutely.
To do
Yep.
that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've covered all the items on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Give it an adjournment.